Welcome to the Today's Leader podcast, the podcast for the leaders and entrepreneurs of today.
Way to go, guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul. I see you. All right, Charlie. Finish. Show us. Coach Cole. Great job, guys.
Hey there, it's Coach Cole here, and welcome to episode 326 of the Today's Leader podcast, the podcast for the leaders and the entrepreneurs of today. Now, last week I was in Uluru, and I was there to run the Australian Outback Marathon. I'm going to be sharing a little bit more detail around that in our very next Monday mentoring episode. But needless to say, the conversation that I share with you today is absolutely relevant to that particular event. Now, we often discuss on this show mental health and mindfulness as a leader, and we haven't been as forthcoming discussing physical health. So we don't discuss the physical health and fitness of leaders as often as what we've talked about mindfulness and our mental welfare. Now, this episode deals with some of the issues that are being faced by leaders in relation to their own physical health and also in the concept of brain fog. So it's a really enlightening conversation with my guest, Nita Kasan. Now, Nita is a master's prepared registered nurse whose professional career has ranged from critical care to flight nursing to serving as a lieutenant commander in the United States Naval Reserve Nurse Corps to Chief Nursing Officer and Chief Operating Officer in multiple hospitals right throughout the US. Now, Nita is currently the principal and owner of two organizations that support the coaching, mentoring, and healthcare leadership needs of the hospitals nationwide. So she's quite strongly versed in what leaders need to be doing to develop themselves, both from a leadership aspect and also, as you'll come to find out, from a physical and a health aspect. Now, in addition to those businesses, Nita has a passion for helping herself and others upgrade their body, their mind, and their lives through the proven science of biohacking and ketones. Very interesting discussion coming up through this. So through this, Nita helps people accelerate their body's ability to burn fat for fuel, independent of diet and exercise. And during this time with her, I know that she's going to tell you exactly how she's done that, but how it can also work for you. This is an incredible discussion. It's a little bit out of the norm for what we talk about here on Today's Leaders, but ultimately the key is you take on board how you can perform better as a leader through becoming more focused, more sharp, and physically active. After a word from our sponsor, I'm really pleased to bring to you Nita Kasan.
The podcast is brought to you by Think and Grow Business, the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind. If you're serious about growing your business, get serious and join a mastermind group today. Find out more at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au.
It's my pleasure to welcome to the Today's Leader podcast, the podcast for the leaders and the entrepreneurs of today. Please welcome from that wonderful state that's hoarding down because the hurricane's on its way from Florida. We've got Nita Kasan. How are you, Nita?
I'm great. How are you, Coach?
I'm very, very well today. We were just talking about the hurricane that's nearing the shores of Florida, and obviously I hope that everyone in Florida and yourself stay safe. We've just started a very chilly morning here in Brisbane, Queensland, so two very, very different worlds currently on this interview. Hey, Nita Kasan, tell me the Nita Kasan story.
Okay, so I am, by background, I am a nurse. I'm an RN. I've been in healthcare my entire career, and I have had just an amazing career, did all different kinds of things, ended up in hospital administration for many years, was a chief nursing officer, chief operating officer. And then about 10 years ago, I had an opportunity to step away from the hospital. As many of your leaders and entrepreneurs, I'm sure, can relate, I had reached a point of burnout and needed to make a change. And so I was able to step away, start my own business, healthcare consulting and executive recruitment firm, which I continue to do today. But I also have gotten involved with some other things along the way, and one that I'm hoping we can talk about today and share with people as to why that became an interest of mine. But it's an honor to be here, and I love nothing more than talking with business people, entrepreneurs, leaders. It's obviously been, a major part of my life and my career as well.
Absolutely. So you've got a couple of different hats that you wear, but the one we're going to focus on today is around, I suppose, physical health and weight loss in so many ways. We've had a number of leaders or global experts on this podcast talking about mental health and mindfulness and whatnot. And what really encouraged me to get you on the podcast was this was a little bit different. We're talking about weight loss, and we're specifically talking about the physical health of people. So Nita, what can you share about, and I suppose America's always had this concept of, of being a well-rounded population, obesity rates are high and et cetera, et cetera. So what can you share about the current state of health that you're seeing, not just in the American population, but within, business leaders and owners?
Yeah, that's a great question. In the United States, it's just really a sad fact. I mean, one of the quotes that I like to pay attention to is something that Thomas Edison said about 120 years ago, where he said, "The doctor of the future will no longer treat the human frame with drugs, but will rather cure and prevent disease with nutrition." And, here we are 120 years later, and it's just such a sad fact that we really haven't learned our lessons along the way. We've gotten a lot worse, as a matter of fact. And here in the United States, the statistic is that 6 in 10 Americans actually have a chronic disease, and 4 in 10 have 2 or more. And when I look at the statistics across the world, we're not alone. We might be the leader, but we've got a lot of other countries, including Australia, that are kind of right on our tails. And it's just it's a really sad fact, because our diet and the way that we live our lives, the stress that we have in our lives, the movement or the lack of movement that we have, obviously plays a huge role in that. So I think that one of the things, as I talk about the ketones and some of the things that we'll get into, I just really want people to understand that there is the potential to change. I mean, I think a lot of times people will feel that, well, my parents had this, or this runs in my family, and we can change our health, we can change our future, and I think that's one of the key things that I really want people to hear in what I share today.
Yeah, and feeling optimal in respect of, your health and your fitness is always going to help you in leadership and running your business. And, that's one of the really clear things that I've always take away. I've got a very good contact over here in Australia called Jeff Jowett, who founded up the body trim company at one stage of his life, and he sort of moved away from being the nation's weight loss expert, I guess, in so many ways. But Jeff always used to share with us that, 80% of weight loss is nutrition, is food, and often I guess people attack it from that, I'm going to join a gym, I'm going to get there, and the first couple of days they're at the gym and they're working themselves out, and, by day 4 they're buggered, they're tired, they're sore. So they say, oh, I'll miss a day, and then a day becomes 2, and then a day becomes 3, and then all of a sudden they're back to exactly where they were. So I'm not a world expert on ketones. Talk me through ketones and ketosis.
Okay. So, it's interesting because Ketones are actually something that our body naturally produces. But our body cannot produce ketones unless we are following a very high fat, very low carbohydrate diet, typically called the ketogenic diet. You may have heard of that. I'm sure many of your guests have heard of the ketogenic diet. But there's not always a good understanding of what that is. I think one thing that people do understand about the ketogenic diet is that it is extremely beneficial physically, mentally, in all kinds of ways, but it's also extremely difficult to follow. And that's why I think there's such a small percentage of people that actually go on to the ketogenic diet or stick with it. But what happens is when you are eating, and I'll just kind of talk about it from the diet perspective first, when you are eating a high fat, very high fat, we're talking 80% or so of your diet being fat, minimal amount of protein, and a very, very low, less than 5% carbs, your body goes into what's called ketosis. And what's happening is that you have this process going on internally where your fat cells actually are starting to break down, and there's some things going on within the liver, and that creates ketones, and you've got these ketones now in your bloodstream. Having ketones in your bloodstream just means that you are in ketosis. So once you're in ketosis, what's happening is that your body is using ketones for fuel instead of glucose. Because if you think about that kind of a diet, when you're not eating a lot of carbohydrates, your body doesn't have glucose, because carbohydrates turn into glucose. Glucose has to be carried by insulin. You have all of this stuff going on internally. So when your body has ketones in it, then it's using the ketones for fuel, and your body, and especially your brain, actually prefer ketones over glucose for fuel. Wow. So one of the things that happened is that about 100 years ago, they had some doctors at the Mayo Clinic and some other locations had determined that a ketogenic diet could help children that had epilepsy, could help reduce or eliminate their seizures. And so what we've seen is that there's been research on ketones for over 100 years. But the ketogenic diet didn't actually kind of come into play until probably maybe 15 years ago or so, and became a little bit more of a fad. And so now that is kind of the basis of the science and the research that's been behind the ketogenic diet and ketones, which ended up leading to the product that I'll be talking about today.
It is fascinating because, for me, I guess the word ketogenic and keto diets and really came into my world, I guess, probably just over the last 5 years. And, Jeff, who I spoke about before, was an advocate in, a bit of a variation of the Atkins diet. I guess you'd look at it with, moderate protein, low carbs, and then when you hit some weight loss goals, you then moved into a higher fat sessions in relation to that particular diet. So I can certainly understand, the concepts that you're talking about here, Nita. But what intrigued me then is when you started talking about the brain and how the brain actually prefers ketos as fuel. So what else in relation to the concept of keto is beneficial for a leader's brain? Because I'd imagine that if people are I'm going to try and visualize this. People get foggy with carbs, don't they? So and I guess that's going to be because of that relative nature towards what's happening within their mind space. What are the other benefits that you would see for leaders and entrepreneurs with the way that they function mentally in relation to this diet?
Yeah, that's a great question, because obviously as a leader, you are expected to be on point. You're expected to be at the top of your game at all times, and we're human, and it's not always easy to do that. And you're right, the way that we eat can affect how we feel, can affect how we function, can affect our productivity, all of these things that are just so important in the day-to-day aspects of leadership. And when you think about what happened probably however many years ago, we had kind of this low-fat craze. And I just want to mention, as we went into this low-fat craze and everybody felt that they needed to be eating low-fat, you can take maps of, especially of the United States, and you can look at the percentage of obesity over 10, starting 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 50, and the colors just change and get darker and darker and darker, indicating the higher and higher percentages of obesity.
Yeah.
So we made some pretty big mistakes in what was being taught to us and what we were following from a diet perspective. And a lot of that has impacted not only the chronic disease aspects that I mentioned, but how we feel, physically how we feel.
Yeah.
So what happens with ketones and ketosis, let's just say that someone does go on a ketogenic diet, their body is producing ketones. They are in that state of ketosis. Some of the benefits that they're going to experience, the first thing they're going to notice is going to be an elimination of brain fog, just a clarity, a different level. You mentioned about the brain, the benefits on the brain. It's really significant because you're talking about being able to kind of eliminate that fogginess that you might have. There is an acceleration of your energy. There's an acceleration of fat loss. There's an acceleration of your mood. Everything just is a lot more optimal in how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis. You have better sleep, a better mood, better digestion. And this is why people that are able to go on the ketogenic diet and follow it are very, very healthy, healthy, turn around all kinds of physical conditions and things like that. So, but what, there, again, because it's so difficult to follow, what we've got in place now is kind of a way to biohack that. Sometimes you might hear if somebody starts to follow the ketogenic diet, it takes a while for them to get into ketosis. It can take days, it can take weeks, and for some people it can take months. And you don't feel very good. You experience what's called the keto flu. Yeah. And so you don't necessarily feel very good as your body is transitioning from glucose as its fuel source to ketones as its fuel source. And so just to kind of give you a little bit of history as to, kind of how some things changed about 5 or 6 years ago. Prior to that, around 2007, here in the United States, the Department of Defense and the Department of Navy actually had a problem that they were trying to solve. And the problem that they were trying to solve was that the Navy divers who do very deep dives would wear sometimes this oxygen rebreather mask, which helps them, to be able to have the oxygen that they need and would prevent the bubbles from going to the surface. So the prevention, obviously that helps them not to be detected. But from time to time, that would cause people to have a seizure or black out. And so they were aware of the ketogenic diet and how it had been used for seizures. And so they started thinking, is there something that can be done? Is there a pill that can be created? Is there something that could help in this kind of situation? And so they started looking all over the world for some of the top leaders in the ketogenic diet. And they actually ended up focusing on a gentleman here in Florida. His name is Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, who is one of the top world leaders in ketones, ketosis, ketogenic diet. And that led to several years of research and development. And the end result of that research was the development of exogenous ketones, meaning that when your body is producing ketones, that's considered endogenous ketones. It's happening inside your body. But what they were able to do was create a drink that you could drink, exogenous ketones that you're drinking that would put your body into ketosis in less than an hour. And that is the biohacking. Yeah. So what happens is that product, which is called Keto OS, those exogenous ketones, when you mix up the packet and you drink the ketones, You can do a blood stick within an hour. You can do take a urine ketone stick within an hour and see that you've got ketones in your body. And probably the most prevalent thing that happens is that you feel it. You feel it from a brain perspective, from that clarity, from from that whole aspect of decreasing that brain fog. And the brain, and this is why I think it's really interesting, because ketones and ketosis, the number one reason why people either do the ketogenic diet or start drinking exogenous ketones is for fat loss, as you mentioned. But the other benefits that go along with it are probably the reason why the people want to either continue that diet or continue to drink ketones, especially because of how it makes you feel from a brain perspective. And just to share a little bit of why that happens, if you there is an aspect over time, as we get older especially, our brain can experience a little bit of insulin resistance. And when you think about what happens is glucose has to be carried by insulin into the cells, and it has to be carried by insulin into the brain, and our brain needs glucose to function. If our brain has a little bit of insulin resistance, the insulin can't carry the glucose into the brain. So the brain is kind of starving. We see this, I don't know if you've heard of what some scientists are now calling type 3 diabetes, which is what they're considering Alzheimer's or dementia, because the insulin resistance is preventing that glucose from getting into the brain. And so it's not getting the energy source that it needs. The beauty of ketones is that ketones don't need to be carried in by anything. They easily cross the blood-brain barrier. And so when you take somebody who's got some fogginess for whatever reason, and you're giving them exogenous ketones and they're drinking those ketones are crossing over that blood-brain barrier within a very short period of time, and you feel that level of clarity, that level of decreasing focus, and which is really the first thing that people notice. And it's pretty amazing, because it if you think about leaders are working their brains so hard from the second they wake up in the morning, trying to figure things out, trying to manage things, trying to encourage people and work with people and do all the things that you're doing as a leader. You can be pretty fried by about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so being able to have something that can be a tool to help you get that energy level back, that's not coffee, is kind of a great approach, and something that probably is a very beneficial tool for a lot of people.
Absolutely. I talk about the performance threshold or the excellence threshold, and you've done your share of coaching as well but I know if I've got 5 or 6 coaching sessions during the course of a day, come 4 o'clock, I'm just knackered. I'm just tired. I'm worn out. It's very draining. It's it consumes a lot of energy, because the person that I'm coaching deserves me to be at their best, and that requires a lot of intention and I guess that energetic output. So if there was a biohack that was available, I would certainly be, I'm sure a lot of coaches would be putting their hands up for it. So Nita, what was the inspiration for yourself to go down and do the research and discover the benefits of what you're talking through?
It's really interesting, because I've always been into health and fitness. I've been an athlete my whole adult life, I would say, I guess. But probably about 5 years ago, a friend of mine had invited me to a presentation that was occurring, and this presentation was about this product, and it was something I had no interest in going to, but I thought, okay, fine, I'll support my friend and go to it. But it was the presentation was about ketones, about ketosis, about this product, And I really didn't know a lot about any of that in the beginning, but when I was listening to the information, it was the brain health aspect of it that caught my interest the most. Even though I would have, the idea of fat loss, the idea of some of these other benefits, but it was the brain health aspect that that really caught my attention. And the reason for that at the time was because my mother had been living with me for several years at that point. My mother had quite a bit of a challenge physically with some chronic diseases, and some of it was affecting her ability to move, her ability to think, her cognition, all those kinds of things. And I thought, I wonder if this is something that would help my mother. And so I had gotten the product, I brought the product home. My mother at the time was 90 years old. She was a very stubborn little lady, and she said, I don't want to try anything. I'm not going to try anything, So as any good little daughter, I started sneaking it in her Gatorade that she was drinking every day. And so she had no idea she was drinking it. But after about 4 or 5 days, she said to me, I feel like my writing is better. And I said, what do you mean you feel like your writing is better? And she said, I just feel like I can write better. And at that point, her writing was chicken scratch. And so I had pulled out a piece of paper. I said, well, write your name. She wrote her name, and I about fell to my knees, because when she wrote her name, it was the beautiful cursive that she had always had her whole life. And I just knew something was going on. And my mother passed away about a year after that, but she did continue on this product during that year. And the biggest thing I can say is that her quality of life during those final 12 months was significantly different than it would have been otherwise. And I think more from a balance perspective, from a mental perspective, cognition, all of these things that just made the quality of life for her very different. That alone, simultaneously with myself starting on the product, and my son-in-law had started on the product, had lost 70 pounds, in a fairly short period of time, and other people that I was getting to know and seeing these incredible benefits with, I just kind of came away from all of that feeling like I just need to shout from the rooftops, and I need to let people know that this is, that there is a product out there like this that they may not be aware of, and that could significantly change their life. And so I wasn't looking for a business opportunity. I did jump into the business 5 years ago. I kind of had to shift a little bit because my traditional business had gotten very busy. But I did decide over this past probably 7, 8, 9 months ago to get back involved with it as a business, from the business perspective, because again, this is something, if I never made a dime at this, it's still something that I want people to know about. I want people to understand that they can impact their health, they can impact their life, they can impact the way they feel every day. And there's nothing more important. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how you could be at the top of the top of a company, the CEO of the biggest company in the world. But if we don't have our health, and if we don't feel good, what does it mean? So,
yeah, you've got to be able to enjoy life. You've got to be able to, not just meander or drift through life. It's about having that real clarity, that real sense of wellness, and what's those personal stories are amazing. And I think that when you've got something that's backed by some science and some research, and then you can share things like your personal stories of the benefits for it, it really does create an impact for people. So I think that that's really, really important. So tell me about, you've mentioned it a couple of times, you tell me about your product, and what is it and what does it do?
So the product is called Keto OS. It comes in a little packet that basically you're mixing with water. Typically I'm mixing with about 16 ounces of water, maybe some ice, just, depending on how you like it. But you shake it up and you drink it. And it's best to drink it over about 30 minutes or so. And what most people will do is they will drink one ketone drink in the morning and one ketone drink later in the afternoon. And it kind of depends on what your goals are. So the biggest thing to me is that this is a tool. It's not, it's not something like you can just drink it. And let's say that somebody has 100 pounds to lose. That's their goal. They want to lose, they want to lose body fat. You can drink this drink and you're going to feel ketosis. You're going to feel the benefit because it will put you in ketosis no matter how you're eating, no matter whether you change your diet or not. Your body will be in ketosis, 100% guaranteed. But if your goal is the brain health aspect, you're going to get that no matter what kind of, if you don't make any changes at all. But again, because most people do turn to this product for the fat loss benefits, then the recommendation is that you just start to decrease your carbohydrates. You do not need to follow the ketogenic diet because the product is helping to get you into ketosis. So if somebody can just if they start drinking the ketones, twice a day is optimal. Even once a day is very beneficial, but twice a day is optimal. And just start decreasing the carbohydrates, start paying attention to how you're eating and dropping that percentage of carbs as you move forward, you will start dropping body fat. And part of the reason is because of what the ketones are doing inside your body to accelerate fat loss. But one of the other things is that ketones help to decrease your appetite and they help to decrease your cravings. And if you think about what happens, we've all done it. I think we wake up in the morning and we say, okay, today's the day. I got 20 pounds to lose. This is just like you said about the gym, right? Today's the day. I'm going to start. And by about noon, something happens, and all of that desire and all of that excitement turns to defeat. And then you kind of get in this cycle of I can never reach my goals. Whatever. And you kind of start taking it out on yourself. The beauty of the exogenous ketones and of this drink, which as I said is called Keto OS, the beauty of it is that it can help you to succeed with whatever those goals are. So if somebody does want to lose body fat and they're incorporating the ketones into their lifestyle as they're starting to make some of those changes, the changes are easier because you're not as hungry, you don't have as many cravings. You actually want to move your body, and if you just start moving, whether you're obviously a couch potato and just can start doing something, but the benefits to even a high-level athlete, they're Olympic athletes that drink these ketones because they're just looking for that 1 second edge or whatever it might be. And when you look at the research behind what it's doing, what ketones are doing from a muscle preservation perspective, from your energy perspective, all these other things, it helps you in so many different ways. So it's a phenomenal product. And what happened was, as I mentioned, the University of South Florida and Dr. D'Agostino, when they created the product 5 years ago, Pruvit, Pruvit is the name of the company that was able to obtain the rights to manufacture and sell the product. It took them a little while to get it to taste good because originally I believe it tasted like tar. So they had to work with some things. It does have a little bit of stevia in it, but it is, at this point, it is the only bioidentical ketone product on the market. It was the first ketone product. It's the only bioidentical ketone product. So it's similar to the ketones that your body would naturally produce. And it's vegan, it's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, it can come in caffeinated or non-caffeinated, and it's based on 9 patents. There are 9 patents behind the technology. So it's a pretty amazing product, and the people that start to drink the ketones, the testimonials are just thousands and thousands of testimonials, reflecting everything from fat loss to the brain benefits to just all kinds of situations that people have been helped with. So
looking and thinking about it, in the world of leadership today, there's disruption, there's ambiguity, there's uncertainty, and anything that can help a leader get the edge for themselves mentally, physically, is obviously going to be something that's going to be well rewarded for themselves. So I think that the conversation is very timely today, Nita. I think that it's absolutely relevant. You've mentioned the business opportunity. Walk me through what that looks like. And, I know a lot of people, once they, have always had that friend that says, oh, come along, I want to share a business opportunity with you. And I know it sends some cold shivers down people's spines. And I think the way that some of the organisations work and people, whether they call it network marketing or multi-level marketing or what have you, a lot of people actually have some bad vibes in and around that. But when you've got a product like this, I'm sure that it's probably a little bit different. Walk me through the business opportunity.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying those things because, even from my own perspective, I am not able to get involved with or stand behind something unless I absolutely 100% believe in it and know that not only can it benefit me, my family, the people I know and love, but the world. And so when I got exposed to this product, I had never been involved with direct sales in any way, and it didn't mean anything to me. I just knew that this was something I wanted to go out and share and use myself. But I think it's really interesting, and I look at kind of what we've all been exposed to over the past year or so, and I really think there's a couple of things that 2020 especially, and as we've gone into 2021, has opened our eyes to. To me, it's things like our need to cherish our health and cherish the health of the people that we love, because we've seen what can happen if you are not healthy. And your chances of some of the challenges being that much greater. So I think we've a lot of people have really recognized that need to cherish and respect our health more than ever. I think another thing that stands out to me is our need to not be financially dependent on a job. Because look at how many jobs have been affected, how many industries have been affected. People that were in careers that never thought there would be any changes, and all of a sudden that industry is gone or it's changed or whatever it is. And then I think the other thing is the benefit of having a home-based business, because look at how many people ended up doing business via Zoom and working from home. Obviously we've seen that there are a lot of companies that have discovered they can have more people working from home and not necessarily being in the offices. But when I think about some of those kinds of things that have impacted us over the past year or so, to me, it's only solidified. I was already doing my own business, but it just solidified that I can take this to a whole nother level because I'm already working from home. I'm already, in a situation where I don't have a boss. I'm in my own entrepreneurial world, if you will. But when I also looked at the projections, I guess, for network marketing, and I know that there are a lot of people that have some negative thoughts about all of that, but I think we're also seeing a really significant change, especially over the past year or so, in the way that people are thinking about that. When you look at I think the last statistic was 2019, and I'm sure 20, and it was not much different. But the global network marketing industry had sales of over $180 billion in that phenomenal 1 year. And what's projected by 2025, which is only a couple of years from now, is that the network marketing industry will reach annual sales of $650 billion in sales annually. And, when I look at that and I think, this is a train I think I need to be on, because, there are phenomenal products out there, that people sell, and I will use them, I will buy them. But this, to me, when I look at what is most important, again, because I've been in healthcare my whole life, but because, I'm getting older and health is even that much more important to me. The health of my family is extremely important to me, and the health of people around me and the impact that I want to have in the world. So I also think that if you can look at what the new normal is for this industry, no longer do you have to be focused on face-to-face meetings. It's an online approach. I mean, we have you can do everything online. You can do everything through social media, online sales versus offline sales, the digital marketing. I mean, I'm learning a lot from the younger generation, and I've gotten a lot better with social media and some of those types of things. But I just think that there's an ability to have a product like this that can significantly change people's lives. And I don't have to knock on doors to let them know about that. I can do things like this and share this information. And if someone is interested in trying that product, that's phenomenal. If someone is interested in looking for, taking a look at it as a business opportunity, that's phenomenal as well. I do think that it is... Prove It has been in place for 5 years, or been a company that's been out there for 5 years, so it's not brand new. It's already well exceeded over $1 billion in sales. I think that says a lot about of what's happening with this product. And it now is fully functioning in 27 different countries. So that was probably one of the reasons why I decided to get back involved with this as a business, is because it became a major international business. And what's happening in Europe and some of these other countries with this product is pretty amazing. And what's interesting is that it's still, even here in the States, it's still a very new conversation. The fact that you have to, help people understand what ketones are, what ketosis is, it's a brand new conversation. But once people are able to get a little bit of information, for some people, that's all they need. They just want to try it. Let me drink it. Let me see how I feel. Go from there. And also the other thing I would say regarding the business opportunity is that almost everybody starts off as a customer. You need to be a product of the product. And so I think I always encourage people just to try the product, see what it does for you, how you feel, the impact it might have on your life, or maybe on some of your family or people that you care about. And if that is significant for you, and you can see the vision of this is a great business to be in. It's a great opportunity.
It sounds good. And one of our previous guests on the podcast talked about what we're seeing at the moment is the great resignation as people are leaving their corporate jobs, and that realization that there's got to be more to life, and maybe this is an opportunity for people, to utilize the product, and then I guess become ambassadors for the product as well. Nita, it's been an amazing conversation. So as I know the audience, there will be a number of them itching to contact you in some way, shape or form. So how would they best do that?
Okay, so I think the easiest thing is to let me give you my my website, and people can go to this site, and there's a place on there where you can click to get some additional information. You'll also get a free gift when you do that. It's going to talk about a 10-day Drink Ketones Challenge pack, and that's where you'll see, people will see where they can log in for that. And then I'll be able to reach out to people, and they can let me know if they've got an interest in possibly trying the product, or possibly wanting to know a little bit more about the business as well. My that link is www.legacyofexcellence.pro. So it's legacy, Legacy of excellence, EXCELLENCE.pro. And I know you use excellence all the time with your audience. So, and I really look forward to hearing from anyone that might have any interest in knowing more, or wanting to try the product, or any of those kinds of things. So,
and of course, we will have that link in the show notes, so people can take advantage and make some contact of yourself. It's been an enlightening conversation for me. Certainly, Nita, it's, being involved or being an ambassador previously for a weight loss organization here in Australia, anything that can help people gain those health benefits and mentally those mental benefits as well from weight loss and feeling great about yourself is always absolutely. So leaders, if you are looking for the edge, this may be the way to take that edge over the competition, which whoever you see your competition is. So the leadership edge, why not? Reach out, make contact with Nita. Nita, thank you very much for your time today. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and thank you for investing in the leaders of today.
Absolutely, and thank you so much. It's been a wonderful opportunity. Appreciate it.
Join the group of people impacted by seriously simple stuff to get you unstuck. The first book by Tony Coach Curl. Available at Amazon, Tony's Simple Stuff provides the tool for people to master your life and aspirations. 20% of every book sold supports Carter's cause.
And now, it's time for Tony's 2 cents.
Now, I found that conversation enlightening. So, as a leader, it's important to maintain an open mind when we're looking for ways to get an edge. Now, research continues to show us that leaders in good physical health outperform others. It makes some sense, doesn't it? That leaders in good physical health outperform others, and this is indicated by much of the research being done. Now, the more energy that you can bring to your role as a leader, the stronger your performance will be, the stronger your team engagement will be, and the better your results. The better your results, the better your performance, the better your productivity. All of this is tied in with the concept of being physically fitter. Now, the concept of brain fog is also an important one, as many leaders operate in corporate haze and have brain fog for a range of reasons, whether it's confusing directions, ambiguous strategy, or personally, it could be poor options when it comes to their own healthy activity, eating and drinking. So, as a leader, stay open to ways to formulate your own better performance. Be disciplined in your approach to activity and eating, and stay ahead of the pack. You owe it to yourself as a leader to be doing that. So thank you very much, Nita, for bringing the discussion of health into today's leaders. Don't forget, if you are interested in anything that Nita talked about in terms of the product, her details are in the show notes. So now is the time for you to take control of your leadership growth in this disruptive world we navigate. Our aim is to help you become the best leader you need to be today by providing you access to global leaders and experts. Now, if you're looking to build better leadership skills, check out the Today's Leader website at todaysleader.com.au. Today's Leader is a collective mindset, being the best leader today to forge greater success tomorrow. The mindset to make a difference, the ability to create an impact. Think and Grow Business hosts our Today's Leader Masterminds. Think and Grow Business, where we focus on personal, professional and business growth. Book your free 30-minute discovery call right at the homepage at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au. Don't forget, you are standing stronger, braver and wiser. Don't forget the golden rule. You know what it is. Don't be an arsehole. I'll see you all again next week. Bye.